Hey, Walking Discovery crew, Steven here. Welcome to part 3 of our Autism Acceptance Series for the month of April. Today's question that I'm going to be asking everybody is, do you feel misunderstood? And what is some things that people misunderstand about autism? Let's jump into it. If you like learning about alternative perspectives and neurodiversity, please subscribe to the Walking Discovery channel. Like this video to send it out to people who could really use this information, and if you can, consider supporting us on Patreon. All right, Alex, is it cool if I ask you a couple questions for Autism Acceptance Month?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, Alex, we're out here in Westminster Park helping the kids with the Easter egg hunt that's going on later. And the topic of today's video is, do you feel misunderstood?
A lot of the times, yes. A lot of people might misunderstand what I'm trying to say some of the time. Sometimes it could be just me not getting the point across that well.
Okay, and so what do you feel like is something that people get wrong about autism in general?
Well, I think the one assumption is that people think it is like a bad thing, like it's a thing that parents should worry about. And I've seen this happen for years with, some autism organizations misunderstanding the point of the mental disability.
Gotcha. So people think it's bad, or people think that it's like kind of like a disease or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like I remember this very old commercial from Autism Speaks that basically had that same message, and it didn't go well at the time.
It's amazing how tone deaf those ads can be, especially if an autistic person sees it. It's like, how do you expect me to feel about that?
Exactly. I think it's gotten better since, but there's always room for improvement, I'd say.
Right. And going back to, do you feel misunderstood? Like, what aspects of yourself do you feel like people misunderstand?
What certain aspects of myself? Some people can't understand the stims or the quirks or the hyperfixations that I tend to have, but that's expected. Not everyone has the same experiences as others.
Right.
Everyone's unique.
It's not unusual that people misunderstand other people, but it's also good for people to be able to reevaluate their opinions of certain groups of people and to come to better conclusions and be less judgmental.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Is there anything else, like off the top of your head, you want to share while we're talking today?
Well, I do think that autism as a whole, it's just really interesting to talk about most of the time. There's been a lot of changes over the years. Sometimes I've always think about the usages and terms that have been thrown over the years. Like the old name for autism was Asperger's, but they basically changed that because it was deemed too offensive, and I was just like, dang. Because I think the person who created the disorder diagnosis, I think his name was Asperger's or something, and he done a lot of weird experiments to verify that the disability existed.
And so what do you think? Do you think that the term Asperger's was offensive, or did you not have a problem with it?
Back then, I didn't have a problem with it because I thought that was just another term for autism, but I do see why people would find that offensive.
And for the people who don't know the difference between Asperger's and autism, like Asperger's is kind of an outdated term at this point.
Yeah.
But could you explain what that meant?
Well, I'm not sure because, back in the day, not a lot of people knew what the context to that name was or why, why people would find it.
All right, so Jacob just kind of ran towards the swing set, and that brings me to a great point about being misunderstood, or what do people misunderstand about autism is, while Jacob is non-speaking, I should say, he has to rely on certain methods to advocate for himself and get what he wants. He can't tell me, I want to run and play on the swings, like somebody else might be able to. So he's just going to do what he wants to do. And you can see Jacob's really thoroughly enjoying the swings here today. Something I've noticed about Jacob from knowing him just for the short amount of time is that he gets misunderstood for trying to get out of certain situations or misbehaving or whatever you want to call it. However, what he's looking for is usually just a fun ride on the swings or a nice run in the park. He's not trying to get into any trouble. He's not trying to do anything wrong. He's just trying to stimulate his body, enjoy the park just like anybody else, and have a good time. People often think that because you're running away to something else or you're pushing through someone, that means that you're wanting to get into trouble or put yourself in a dangerous situation. For Jacob, it's as simple as wanting to get on the swings, and the Walking Discovery group allows him to express himself in a way that is authentic. We're not going to hold him back from doing what he wants. We are also going to act in ways that are in line with his best interest. So let's move on. All right, sorry about that. Something caught my attention.
Yep.
So going back to Asperger's, Asperger's, from as far as my knowledge, was a term used for autistic folks, I guess, had like less support needs than others. So I don't want to use this phrase without putting a disclaimer that this phrase is also outdated, but the term high and low functioning is a phrase that's thrown around in the autism community.
Yeah.
And for most advocates, allies, and autistic folks, I've noticed that term can be kind of offensive at this point.
Yeah, I think it is offensive, and it doesn't really make sense. It's not accurate. I mean, I get why people would use these terms to better describe, some of the actions or behaviors that, some autistic people do. But I don't think it's accurate. It's a mix of different things. It's as people said, it's a spectrum, and those terms do not accurately describe what the autism spectrum, and I mean the spectrum is supposed to be.
Right. A spectrum doesn't mean a linear line. A spectrum is an entire 360 degrees of different behaviors, different ways of being, and a lot of things that are just like intangible that you can't really put your finger on.
Right.
So it's...
Some people, this isn't related to autism. Some people have said that about gender as of recent, and I thought that was kind of interesting too.
Yeah.
How they both go hand in hand sometimes.
It's almost like it's as if time goes on, people become realizing that we're not black and white, we're not binary and non-binary, we're not left and right. There's so much nuance and differentiation in the human experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And progressive-minded folks will realize that you're not trying to offend anybody by being your authentic self. It's just who you are.
Exactly. I think the more we understand each other with the neurotypicals and the neurodivergents, as long as there's an effort for acceptance and being aware that we're both not so different and different at the same time, if we accept each other, then I think this will lead to greater things for the future.
Amazing.
Of autistic.
What a great way to put that into words.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that is just not something that's spoken very often, and I wish I could talk to you all day. We got to plan a one-on-one interview for a full-length video.
Absolutely, that would be amazing.
Well, for now, I just want to say thank you for your time, Alex. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, let's enjoy this walk. We'll see you next time.
All right, see ya.
All right, we're waiting on our pizzas, and Griffin is already hard at work with his healthy lunch here. This looks miraculous. Good stuff.
It's Mediterranean inspired, or Middle Eastern, I should say.
It looks so good.
Thank you.
All right, Griffin, so we're in part 3 of our Autism Acceptance Series for April.
All right.
And my question for you is, do you ever feel misunderstood?
Yes, I feel misunderstood when people are like, you don't have autism, do you? I was like, come on, in my head. And whenever my neighbors say that sometimes.
How does that make you feel if someone says, do you have autism? Or
it makes me feel like they're questioning my autism.
do you ever feel like there's a weird stigma about looking autistic or something like that?
Actually, people consider me to be normal looking, actually.
Do you think that's something that you would advocate for, that people should know that there's no one look to autism and anyone could be autistic, right?
Most certainly.
There's no specific look or anything like that. Oops, hold on. Oh, gotta get Jacob. He loves hammocks.
Yeah.
All right, Jacob, come on. We gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
No, sir. Let's roll. Come on, Jacob. That's not yours. Step out, please. Come on. No time for jokes today. Come on, let's roll. Let's roll. Let's roll. Here, let's step out. Yep. Go ahead. All right, sir. All right. Let's go back to the question at hand here. All right, that was quite an adventure.
Yeah.
So back to what we were saying about there's no certain look to being autistic, right?
Oh no, there certainly isn't.
So does it make you feel like uncomfortable when someone says, "Oh, you don't look autistic," or something like that?
Yes, that's a different story because I don't believe in that it can be deceived and sometimes like that.
Right. And a lot of times, like, autism can be a disability that has no look to it whatsoever.
Yeah, like me for example, if some people don't even recognize I do have autism, but I'm like, oh yeah, I have autism, and then they treat me perfectly. Like on the plane, they gave me an A+ seating.
Oh, that's cool. Do you ever think that people like treat you differently because you're autistic?
Yeah, I feel that way, but I tend to ignore the negativity that comes from some people.
Do you ever think that people like treat you too like they like too positive almost? Like,
to me, there's no such thing as too positive.
I figured that would be your answer. Anything else you want to say while we're on camera for part 3?
Griffin Sievers, over and out.
Over and out. All right, thanks, Griffin. The pizzas have arrived, huh?
Yes.
Thanks for making it to the end of another video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the Walking Discovery channel to see the rest of our Autism Acceptance series, as well as weekly videos highlighting unique and neurodivergent perspectives. Like the video to send it out to people who could really use this information, leave a comment of what you thought, and if you can, it would mean so much for you to support us on Patreon. Patreon donors get access to our exclusive 2-hour group chat on Discord, behind-the-scenes content, and early videos. You're also helping us to continue to create educational content on YouTube and pay our volunteers for our in-person meetups. Links to our Patreon, Discord, and all other social medias are in the description. We'll see you in the next video.